The Statue of Liberty, New York's port of entry, announces the New World. This statue, France's gift to the United States to celebrate the centennial of American independence, has become the symbol welcoming the millions of visitors who visit New York every year. The crown on the head of the statue, which can be accessed using the lift, offers a breathtaking view of the city. In the past, Miss Liberty, as the monument has been nicknamed, would extend the first welcome to those who flock to New York from every corner of the globe. Just as it does today, the city, which can be seen from afar, offered a vision of incredible vitality and power. Just past the Statue of Liberty is Ellis Island, the little stretch of land that was the transit point for all immigrants waiting to enter the United States. Today, there is a museum exhibiting objects and photographs recreating the great saga of immigration in the United States. The bridge closing off New York Bay is named after Giovanni da Verrazzano, the Tuscan seaman who discovered the island of Manhattan in 1524 while he was exploring the American coast for the King of France. However, the first settlement was not built until a century later, after a Dutchman bought the island from the Indians and named it New Amsterdam. The city initially developed on the southern tip of Manhattan, where Battery Park is now located. The island of Manhattan is just one part of New York City, which also includes Queens, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. Central Park, Fifth Avenue, and Broadway, which crosses the island diagonally, stand out in the dense network of streets and avenues. After passing the Statue of Liberty, set in the middle of New York Bay, we fly over the Brooklyn Bridge, a majestic example of 19th century engineering. And then we climb to the upper terrace of the Empire State Building, which was New York's tallest building for many years. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, destroyed in a terrorist attack on the 11th of September 2001, were 420 meters high. The 110-story towers were set on foundations that went to a depth of 21 meters in the island's rocky floor. The destruction of the Twin Towers has dramatically changed the city's skyline. Today, Ground Zero, the site where the towers once stood, is a desolate clearing, and work to build the new World Trade Center is scheduled to begin here soon. American architecture discovered its specific role with the construction of skyscrapers. The Woolworth Building, constructed in 1913, marks the climax of the old type of skyscraper with traditional decorative motifs, neo-Gothic in this case. The Empire State Building, constructed in 1931, was the first one to be designed as a full-fledged city, equipped with services and facilities to guarantee independent operation. With its steel arches and triangular windows, done in the Art Deco style, the Chrysler Building is the most fascinating of all skyscrapers and is undoubtedly the favorite of New Yorkers because of its romantic charm, which has played a central role in countless films. New York's extremely rapid development in the 19th century led to city planning that relied on roads set strictly perpendicular or parallel to each other. This culminated in a grid of city blocks, all of the same size, created by the intersection of avenues running up and down the island lengthways and streets spanning its width. Fifth Avenue, which starts in Washington Square and ends in Harlem, divides the city into the east and west sides. This avenue is the very epitome of New York. The city's great parades are held here, and it is a favorite place for taking a stroll and going shopping. Let's take a walk down Fifth Avenue, covering the stretch between Central Park and Washington Square that is celebrated as the world's showcase. At the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Central Park, we come across legendary luxury hotels like the Plaza and the Pierre, seen often in Hollywood films. The parade of luxury begins with Bergdorf Goodman and Christian Dior. Dior is housed in one of New York's most surprising new skyscrapers. On nearby Madison and Lexington Avenues, we can see the shop windows of Giorgio Armani and Bloomingdale's, the legendary department store offering chic American fashions. Opulence and good taste sometimes contrast with the festive appearance of parades celebrating one of New York's many metropolitan communities. All this helps create the atmosphere of global variety that characterizes the Big Apple. Fifth Avenue is a place known for hyperbole, and the newest dazzling example is Trump Tower. Just a few blocks away is another giant, Rockefeller Center. This is the monument to billionaire John D. Rockefeller Jr., the tycoon who invested a fortune to develop New York. Fifth Avenue also means St. Patrick's, New York's Catholic cathedral, and the symbol of all Americans of Irish descent, who celebrate their origins every year with the famous St. Patrick's Day parade. On 53rd Street, we come to the Museum of Modern Art, nicknamed MoMA by New Yorkers, which is temporarily closed for renovation. The museum, which is also a lively cultural center and meeting place, is considered the city's loveliest rendezvous, with a garden flaunting masterpieces of modern sculpture. Until 2005, the MoMA collections can be viewed at their new venue in Queens, in a former factory that has been renovated in a high-tech style. As we head downtown to the historic district, we come to Macy's, which boasts of being the world's largest department store. The greatest is a term you often hear in New York, because there's always something or someone that's beaten all the records in terms of size, wealth, or speed. And along the streets, there are always showmen or salesmen who add a personal performance to the city's great chorus of voices. At the corner of 34th Street, we come to the Empire State Building, the symbol of New York and the building that dared to rise up and challenge the sky. Its scenic terraces offer an unrivaled view of Manhattan. Across from us is one of the cornerstones of the history of New York architecture, the Flatiron Building. The intersection of Fifth Avenue, Broadway, and 23rd Street, known as Madison Square, forced the architect to design a triangular building. Its appearance was so strange for the era, it was built in 1902, that it was given the moniker Flatiron. A short detour brings us to Union Square, at the intersection of Broadway and 17th Street. The headquarters of Barnes & Noble, America's largest chain of bookstores, overlook the square, which also hosts a festive flower market in the spring. We take the subway to go back to Midtown Manhattan. The numerous lines marked with a letter or number against a background of different colors go as far as Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx. People say that New York never sleeps, and even the trains, although they run less frequently at night, travel around the clock. Back at Rockefeller Center, we can explore the other great avenues, each of which has its own unique features. Behind Rockefeller Center, on the 6th Avenue side, we can take a look at Radio City Music Hall, which seats 6,200 people, making it the world's largest theater. 6th Avenue, or Avenue of the Americas, is striking with its skyscrapers lined up as if for a military review. Madison Avenue is the prestigious address of advertising firms. Its symbolic skyscraper, with its distinctive pediment, was built by Philip Johnson, the proponent of postmodernism. Park Avenue is the residential street par excellence, and it is cut in half by Grand Central Station and the Pan Am Building, now owned by MetLife. One of the most famous buildings on Park Avenue is the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, a leading Art Deco landmark. Just a few blocks away is the Seagram Building, designed by Mies van der Rohe in the late 50s. This building is famous for being the first one clad entirely in glass. "42nd Street was the city's most outrageous street. Today, the situation is changing very rapidly. Many old buildings have now been demolished, and prostitution and the porno market have been reduced dramatically. The street crosses through Times Square, which is formed by the intersection of 42nd Street with 7th Avenue and Broadway. The allure of this square is linked with its enormous neon signs and cinemas, as well as its proximity to Broadway, which is not only the name of a street, but also of the theatre district. The New York Public Library is also on 42nd Street and holds 19 million books available for consultation and lending. Other famous attractions on 42nd Street include the new Grace Building, the Chrysler Building and, above all, Grand Central Station, which, with the Port Authority bus terminal, is a hub for most commuters.